This is Swart, and I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about the events leading directly up to the declaration of the Revolutionary War and a very significant battle about 6 months later that turned the tide of the Revolutionary War. The Continental Army, as you see here, led by General George Washington, as you see him here, was implemented in 1775 by the Continental Congress to fight the British. And they created this army, standing army, because they felt the militiamen and the Minutemen of the day did not have the discipline that was needed to defeat the British. They had been fighting for a very long time by themselves in their own way, and Washington felt that they would not be able to heed his commands because they just wouldn't want to. They were very inadequately funded, though, the Continental Army, and they actually ended up having to melt a statue of King George III for bullets because they just didn't have enough ammunition. Another way colonists revolted, not against England, but within themselves, actually against New York, to stand up for what they believed, was Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys. Ethan Allen was the leader of the Green Mountain Boys, and he claimed that the land should belong to those who worked it. So when New York landlords tried to collect rent, he declared that they were trying to enslave a free people, and he and the Green Mountain Boys revolted and actually ended up creating the state of Vermont. And they did gain their own land. It was very successful. And this revolt was very well organized, as they had their own flag, as you see it here. And because it was well organized, they were successful. The Declaration of Independence is probably the most important document in American history. It was ratified on July 4th, 1776 by the Continental Congress, and it listed the grievances against King George III that the colonies had, such as the quartering of troops in colonial homes, and how King George III had imposed taxes that the colonists didn't like. It also gave the reasons the colonies felt they needed their independence and why they were breaking free. It was very clear-cut, very easy to understand, and all the guys who signed on the bottom, as you can see their signatures, were risking their lives, because if they had not won the Revolutionary War, they all would have been executed for treason. This is one of the more famous paintings from the colonial revolutionary era. As you can see, they are all signing the Declaration of Independence. You can see Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and Samuel Adams and many other revolutionaries. The Battle of Trenton came 6 months later, 6 months into the Revolutionary War. It was not going well for the U.S. at that point, or for America, the colonies, because it wasn't the United States yet exactly. But the Battle of Trenton was very significant. It was in the winter. Many troops had deserted the Continental Army. It went down from 28,000 to 3,000. And at this point, George Washington's men were all sick. They were very cold. As you can see, there's ice in the river. This is a very famous painting of George Washington and some troops crossing the Delaware River, kicking ice out of the way, so they can go and launch a surprise attack on Hessians. Hessians are mercenaries. They were German mercenaries who were paid to fight for the British during the Revolutionary War. And the Battle of Trenton, which was December 26, 1776, the day after Christmas, was very successful. As you can see here, they came across the Delaware River to Trenton and took Trenton, captured all the Hessians with very little bloodshed and very little loss of life on George Washington's part. As you can see there, this is a depiction of them capturing the Hessians. There are very few deaths that you can see because it was a surprise attack. They were not ready, and it was a very significant turn in the tide of the war for the colonies. Thank you for listening, and good night.